Hi all, Jessica here. I'm doing my remix project, and what I chose to do is use sort of a different medium than I think others might be thinking of doing. I'm going to do a recipe. I use recipes a lot, I cook a lot, and instead of really following the recipes exactly to the word, I do a lot of remixing of the recipes. I will do different quantities of a specific ingredient, or I'll add ingredients that the recipe says not to add, or I'll delete some of the ingredients that the recipe says. So the end product really is a very unique food product that really doesn't match that original recipe that I was following. But it comes from the idea of that recipe. So it's really a remix of it. So today I am going to make crab meat stuffed mushrooms. And I actually posted the actual recipe I'm going to be following to the discussion. So you can pop it up as you watch the video and see how I'm deterring with it, following it, not following it. So to start off, I did a little prep work. The recipe says to take the caps out of your mushrooms, which I did that. It also says to put those little mushroom bowls into a glass pan. I'm going to use a metal pan because I can't find my glass one right now. And it also says to put 3 tablespoons of butter in the pan. I'm not going to do that because I am watching what I'm eating and I'm trying to cut calories on this recipe as much as possible, so I'm going to cut the butter on that. So right now and my oven is also preheated to 400 to get it all ready. So I am going to right now, I'm actually warming up 2 tablespoons of butter in my saucepan, and I finely chopped the mushroom stems. And we'll be adding those. And let's see here. We'll be cooking those until they are soft. So we're going to add those right in. I'm going to add them in before the butter is completely melted, just so it soaks it in a little bit more. And to add, I'm not using real butter. I am using Tastes Like Butter, the Hannaford brand of Can't Believe It's Not Butter. So again, cutting the calories using a different product. So I'm going to stir that around. And so you guys can see the action here. It says to melt it on a medium heat. I'm always really impatient when I cook, so I'm going to melt it on setting number 8. Okay, so it says cook until soft, which will take about 3 minutes. Let's see here now. So I'm gonna turn that to medium heat now. Let that cook. And while that's waiting, I am going to chop up my crab meat. Now it says to use a cup of diced cooked crab meat. I'm using fully cooked imitation crab because it's way cheaper than real crab meat. So yeah, so we'll chop that up. We need about a cup, so I'm probably gonna guess here, since I don't really feel like taking out a measuring cup and making sure it's a cup full of diced crab here. I'm just gonna chop it up. Just chop it up. And something that I also tend to do is for recipes that I feel may take a little bit longer, I'll also maybe cut corners so that it'll take a little less longer. I don't usually have a lot of time, but I still like to cook, and it's way healthier than eating processed foods. And so try to cut those corners to make those recipes just a little bit faster whenever I can. Okay, so here, again, I'm not going to measure this out because that would just, I feel, be a waste of time, which I'm trying to save. But this looks like a little bit more than a cup of crab meat, but I'm okay with that because I really like crab meat. So we're just going to leave that like that and use all of it. Okay. Then just give this a stir. It's probably been, I don't know, it's probably been like a minute and a half. Again, I'm not going to time it to the second because, again, this is something probably you can just see by eye. The stems are pretty soft right now. I can smell that they're pretty cooked. So I'm going to say that they're probably done. So the next thing on the recipe says to remove the saucepan from the heat. So I'm going to turn that off. And stir in lemon juice, crab meat, soft breadcrumbs, egg, dill weed, and Monterey Jack cheese. Okay, so I'm going to definitely add my crab meat. Okay, I'm just going to stir that. It says just a teaspoon of lemon juice. Normally I want to add the lemon juice, but since it asks for such a small amount, I'll just put a couple spritzes in there. Let's see here. Stir that around. See, crab meat, soft breadcrumbs. Got Hannaford brand breadcrumbs, original. I don't really know what soft means, so I didn't really go looking for soft breadcrumbs, so I'm going to assume that this is the right kind. And how much do we need here? Need about a half cup. So again, I'm not going to measure this. I'm just going to pour it right in. And then I'm going to stir it around. And see, now it's starting to look a lot like stuffing should look like. It also says to add egg. I'm not going to add egg. When I first read the recipe, I thought that sounded really disgusting. I'm sure it's to keep everything together and make it more stuffing-y, but I'm also counting calories, so I'm going to just leave the egg out of it and add a little bit more breadcrumbs. So stir that up really nice. And so, I don't know if you can see it, but it looks like a stuffing. It's a really good consistency, which is important. Let's see here. It also says to add the Monterey Jack cheese in here. I'm going to wait and put the Monterey Jack cheese on top, so I'm using the least amount of cheese as possible because cheese, again, is high in calories. And I don't have dill weed on hand, and I wasn't going to go to Hannaford and buy some more, so that is not going in either. So thoroughly blend mixture, and I actually might add a little bit more breadcrumbs. Stir it around a little bit more. Okay, that looks good. And as you can see, we have crab meat stuffing. Okay, so place mushroom caps in the butter pan and stir until caps are coated with butter. Again, I didn't put butter in the actual pan because I'm cutting calories. let's see here. Arrange cavity side up and stuff cavities generously with the crab meat. Okay, so I got my mushrooms. And I'm just gonna dig right in there and stuff those babies. Again, the recipe said to get special mushrooms that you actual stuffing mushrooms. I just got regular mushrooms because I didn't really feel like going searching for them. So there's that. And I'm doing this sort of haphazardly so that the stuffing is getting inside the pan. So again, that'll be able to cook as well, and that'll be a nice little side dish. Again, that's not mentioned in the recipe, but doing that anyways. Stuff that in there. And so what I have here is a whole bunch of extra stuffing, and I'm just going to put that in between the spaces of the mushrooms because that'll be good with chicken or other fish for a stuffing, so that'll be good to save for later. Again, since I don't have a lot of time, I like to cook recipes that make a lot of food, so then I have leftovers, and then I can eat those multiple times a week. And just stuff these here. And let's see. That looks good. And then it says the last step is to top with the remaining Monterey Jack cheese. And my cheese is here. So I'm going to cut some slices to put on top of the mushrooms. This is the worst part because opening the cheese package is the worst. Okay. So I'm just going to cut slices. I didn't get shredded Monterey Jack cheese because the block is, you get more and it's cheaper. So, and I can also control a little bit better how much I'm putting on. So I'm just going to take little square pieces, put it on top of the mushroom. And save that little piece for me since that's an extra piece. And then, so we have the mushrooms covered in cheese. And the last part is to bake it uncovered in a preheated oven for 15 to 20 minutes. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in the oven. And I'm going to set my microwave for 15 minutes. And that's pretty much what I'm going to eat for dinner tonight. So that's how I remix that recipe. It's kind of quite different than what the actual recipe says. And a lot of it goes by my instinct of what looks good and what doesn't look good. But that's my project. Thanks.